In the early 1960s, South Vietnam was a nation in turmoil, grappling with political instability and a communist insurgency. On September 8, 1964, a Special National Intelligence Estimate, SNIE 53-64, was produced to assess the prospects for establishing a stable government in South Vietnam. This document provided a comprehensive analysis of the political, military and socio-economic factors influencing the situation. The question was, could South Vietnam be saved? This channel's mission is to challenge the Vietnam orthodoxy. Much of what you know about the Vietnam War is either incomplete or false. To support this channel and its mission, please subscribe and like the video. The leadership crisis in South Vietnam was one of the critical issues addressed in SNIE 53-64. Following the overthrow of President Diem in 1963, the country experienced a series of rapid leadership changes, with multiple coups and power struggles among military and civilian leaders. The document highlighted the pervasive instability and the lack of effective leadership. It noted that the political landscape was fragmented, with various factions vying for power, including the military, religious sects, and political groups. This fragmentation severely undermined the government's ability to establish authority and legitimacy. The estimate pointed out that any new government in South Vietnam would face significant challenges in consolidating power and maintaining stability. The lack of a unifying figure and the absence of strong institutions further complicated efforts to create a stable political environment. Leadership changes in South Vietnam were a constant source of instability, as highlighted in the SNIE. The document detailed how the frequent coups and shifts in power contributed to a lack of continuity and trust in the government. The SNIE noted that each new regime faced the immediate challenge of establishing its authority and gaining the confidence of both the military and the civilian population. This revolving door of leadership made it difficult to implement long-term policies or strategies effectively. The document pointed out that the uncertainty surrounding leadership transitions created opportunities for the Viet Cong to exploit. The insurgents capitalized on the chaos and disillusionment among the populace, further undermining the efforts of successive governments to stabilize the country. The complex social fabric of South Vietnam, with its diverse religious and ethnic groups, also played a significant role in the country's instability, as detailed in the SNIE. The document emphasized the influence of Buddhist and Catholic groups, as well as various ethnic minorities, in the political landscape. These groups often had competing interests and loyalties, adding another layer of complexity to the governance challenges. The SNIE highlighted that any government in South Vietnam would need to navigate these intricate relationships carefully. Efforts to marginalize or suppress these groups could lead to further unrest and weaken the government's legitimacy. Political reforms were deemed essential for the stability of South Vietnam. The SNIE stressed the need for measures to increase political participation and address corruption. The document called for the establishment of more inclusive and representative political institutions. It recognized that a government perceived as legitimate and responsive to the needs of its citizens would be better positioned to counter the insurgency and maintain stability. The SNIE also highlighted the importance of combating corruption, which was rampant in South Vietnam. Corruption not only undermined public trust, but also hindered the effective implementation of policies and military operations. The military situation in South Vietnam was another crucial aspect examined in the SNIE. The Viet Cong insurgency was gaining strength, posing a formidable challenge to the South Vietnamese government and its military forces. The document emphasized that the South Vietnamese army was struggling to counter the Viet Cong's guerrilla tactics. The ARVN's effectiveness was hampered by poor leadership, inadequate training, and low morale. Additionally, corruption and political interference within the military further weakened its capabilities. The estimate noted that the Viet Cong's ability to operate with relative impunity in rural areas was a significant concern. The insurgents had established strong networks and support bases, enabling them to launch attacks and exert control over large swathes of territory. This situation posed a dire threat to the stability of the South Vietnamese government. The role of the United States in South Vietnam was a key factor in the SNIE's analysis. The document assessed the extent of US involvement and its impact on the prospects for a stable government. The analysis recognised that US support was crucial for the survival of the South Vietnamese government. This support included military aid, economic assistance, and advisory efforts. However, the document also highlighted the limitations of US influence. It cautioned that while American assistance could bolster the South Vietnamese military, it could not substitute for effective local leadership and governance. The estimate underscored the importance of US efforts to strengthen the ARVN and improve counterinsurgency operations. It also emphasised the need for political reforms and initiatives to address the grievances of the South Vietnamese population. Without such measures, US support alone would be insufficient to ensure long-term stability. Socio-economic conditions in South Vietnam were a significant consideration in the SNIE's evaluation. The document examined the economic challenges facing the country and their impact on stability. The SNIE highlighted the widespread poverty and underdevelopment in South Vietnam. The rural population in particular suffered from economic hardships, limited access to education and healthcare, and inadequate infrastructure. These conditions created fertile ground for the Viet Cong to gain support and recruit followers. The estimate called for comprehensive socio-economic reforms to address these issues. It emphasised the need for land reform, rural development programs, and efforts to improve living standards. The document argued that without significant improvements in the socio-economic conditions, any political or military efforts to stabilise the country would likely be insufficient. After examining the various factors affecting South Vietnam, the SNIE concluded with an assessment of the prospects for establishing a stable government. The document was cautiously pessimistic about the immediate prospects for stability. It acknowledged the formidable challenges facing South Vietnam, including political fragmentation, a resilient insurgency, and socio-economic woes. However, it also recognised that with determined efforts and substantial support, there was a possibility for improvement. The SNIE recommended a multifaceted approach to address these challenges. This approach included strengthening the ARVN, implementing political reforms, and launching socio-economic development programs. The document stressed the importance of coordinated efforts between the South Vietnamese government and its US allies. The international dimensions of the South Vietnamese conflict were also addressed in the SNIE. The document considered the roles of neighbouring countries and global powers in the stability of South Vietnam. The SNIE noted the influence of North Vietnam and its support for the Viet Cong. It also highlighted the broader Cold War context, where the conflict in South Vietnam was part of the larger struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, as well as Communist China. The document underscored the need for international support and cooperation to stabilise South Vietnam. This included not only military aid, but also diplomatic efforts to isolate the Viet Cong and reduce external support for the insurgency. The SNIE concluded with a long-term strategic outlook, considering the potential pathways to achieving a stable government in South Vietnam. The document recognised that the road to stability would be long and fraught with challenges. It emphasised the need for sustained commitment from both the South Vietnamese government and its allies, particularly the United States. The SNIE suggested that a combination of military strength, political reforms, and socio-economic development would be essential to create the conditions for lasting stability. It also highlighted the importance of flexibility and adaptability in responding to the evolving dynamics of the conflict. SNIE 53-64 provided a sobering assessment of the situation in South Vietnam in 1964. It highlighted the numerous obstacles to establishing a stable government and the complex interplay of political, military and socio-economic factors. The document served as a crucial guide for policymakers, offering insights into the challenges and potential strategies for achieving stability in South Vietnam. In retrospect, the SNIE's analysis underscores the difficulty of the task at hand. The subsequent years would see increased US involvement in Vietnam, with profound implications for both countries. The lessons from this document remain relevant. reminding us of the complexities and uncertainties inherent in efforts to stabilise nations in conflict. As we reflect on SNIE 53-64, we are reminded of the importance of comprehensive analysis and thoughtful policy decisions in addressing the challenges of political instability and insurgency. The document remains a testament to the enduring quest for stability and peace in a troubled region.